is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby.
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break.
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Friday, December 6th, 2019, Season 15, Episode number 94. Welcome to another edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, and oh, do we have so much to get into. Cowboys lay an egg. Not literally, because the points say that they didn't lay an egg, but if you watch the game, they
laid an egg.
They lose to the Chicago Bears last night in Chicago, 31-24. We're coming off the visit up there to Chicago, and there are a lot of hot opinions, at least there were last night, about this team and about where they're going and how they performed last night. So let's dive right in. The first thing that I took from this game is you look at the offense, and to me, it was probably as inept a performance as you've seen from them all season. Check this out. There were 5 possessions they had last night where they went 3 and out. 3 of those possessions, they got 0 yards, and one of those possessions, they actually got negative 12 yards. What was the problem with the offense last night?
Let's start where it always starts. It starts with the offensive line and the quarterback. And so, offensive line, I just didn't think they were as dominant at times. I mean, they ran the ball decently, and they actually did well in the red zone there. I thought the pass protection wasn't. Dak was running around for his life, but Dak's worst game of the season, I think. I don't care what the stats say. Stats lie. In this case, I think it was his worst game. He did not play well. He missed open receivers, and not until people started going to bed, turning it off, did he start playing well. So
I said last week that, he threw for like 350 against Buffalo, and I was like, that's a hollow stat line. Yeah. Well, this is worse, honestly. Which, that's the crazy thing. I guess I have a reputation at this point of being a Dak apologist. I certainly don't think he played well, but I said it during the game, and the offense was bad. They had the 17-play drive. They, established their run. Zeke looks good. They go down and score, and then completely disappear. I get that. How many 3-and-outs did you say?
They had 5 3-and-outs last night.
And I think they have more first downs on the first possession than up until the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my impression was Mitch Trubisky looked like Lamar Jackson. That's what I couldn't get over is, yes, the Cowboys offense wasn't moving the ball.
That's the play you don't like.
And
yeah.
Wait, what are we? Oh,
you were mentioning
that
oh
play.
God!
That play sucked. But
I don't even know where
there
to
was a
start.
play last night. There was a play last night
they just
where
showed it there.
I think it was the first play he showed. There were 3 different guys that had man coverage. There was one player that had 3 or 4 guys around him, and Dak throws the ball to the guy with 3 or 4 men around him. And to me, it was a symbol of what the night was for Dak Prescott. Talking about his numbers, he was 27 of 49, 55% completion, 334 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions, 83.2 passer rating. The interesting part, though, is if you go back and look at the first half, that's when you see just how bad it was. He was 6 of 13 in the first half, 46% completion with only 60 yards, 59.8 passer rating. That's really the story of the game. In the first half, other than that first drive, they absolutely could do nothing on offense.
A lot of the year, I feel like a lot of this has fallen on dropped passes, not necessarily his fault, but I feel like this game, it was just bad throws. There were a lot of dropped passes. I know Gallup had a bunch of them, and Cobb, and it was kind of everyone, but this felt like those drop passes fell a lot more onto Prescott than they have throughout the rest of the year.
He was off target all night. He got it together in the fourth quarter. I guess kudos to him for doing that, but the game was well out of reach, obviously. And you can still say they laid an egg just because they lost by 7. Jerry Jones, the owner of the team, came out after the game and was like, let's not let anybody get confused that this was a close game.
Yeah, it took it to us.
Yeah. So they definitely laid an egg. But here's the point that I was trying to make. Flame away if I'm a Dak apologist. I'm sorry. But 17 plays, touchdown. Bears drive the field. Jordan Lewis gets a great toe drag interception.
Nice. Yep.
Cowboys on the 1-inch line. I don't expect them to drive the field. They play very conservatively. They punt. Bears get the ball back, go down, score a touchdown, 7-7. Cowboys do go 3 and out. I mean, no yards gained on the next drive. Then the Bears go down and score a field goal. And now you're getting toward the end of the first half. Not a pretty drive, but the Cowboys get to the Bears 24.
Don't get me started there. We're going to go there.
Well, we're going to go there. We've already talked crap on the offense and defense. You might as well throw special teams in there. Gets them into field goal range to potentially tie the game with 5 minutes to play. Brett Maher misses from the all-important 40 to 49 range. He's 1 of 5 on the year now from 40 to 49, which arguably is the most important range for an NFL kicker to be accurate from.
But he slept well.
He did. That's what I heard. I heard he.
Yeah, here was his quote, just to be clear. He says, "I hit every ball pretty well tonight. I'll put my head on the pillow tonight feeling good about what I did. I feel good."
You know what? You need to be cut for that. You don't feel good. Why are you going to feel good about what you did?
The results matter, right?
You know what? I actually one time, I don't play a lot of golf, but one time I hit the greatest shot ever into the middle of the number 12 fairway. It was unbelievable. The problem was I was on number 9. Okay? It was a great shot. Hitting the ball well is not what we're trying to do here.
Killed it.
Hitting it through the middle is what we're trying to do. I would take the knuckleball that just trickles in and hits every crossbar and upright and all that. Oh, I struck it well. I'm going to sleep well tonight?
Yeah.
A lot of that with when they talk to the media is kind of not telling the full truth. And that's with really everything they say. They're always going to say, like, we still believe in this team. There's no confidence on us. All that stuff you take with a grain of salt. But with this, you can't lie to yourself. You can't lie to the media about that. You have to be honest.
Yeah, and that wasn't his worst kick. His worst kick was the kickoff out of bounds.
Yeah.
You know what? I said this in the pregame show about 2007 against the Bears when they went up there and Devin Hester was the guy and you had to kick it away from him and they kicked out of bounds and all that. And they just told the coaches, listen, kick it, we'll tackle him. At some point, you just have to be an NFL player and say, we're going to stay in our lane, run down there. Yes, Cordarrelle Patterson's a great player, but we're going to tackle him. Because you're doing all this extra stuff, and then you kick it out of bounds.
But my question is was that also a reflection of the fact that maybe special teams just isn't on the right? Like, special teams has not played well these last few weeks. Was this a situation where they were making a decision because they knew special teams had not played well, and they're like, just don't get it to Cordarrelle Patterson because we don't trust that the special teams will make a tackle?
But the alternative there is you kick out of bounds and get to the 40, which is what he's trying to do.
But that also, again, that shows you why it is such a big problem, is because one thing begets the other. It's the same thing with him kicking these field goals and being inconsistent. At some point, it starts to affect the strategy of the game. It affects your decision making, and that becomes a problem.
I guess, but that's what I was going to say is, like, the irony is you're outthinking yourself on kickoff because you don't trust your deficiencies in the kick game, but they have no problem trotting him out there for field goals that he can't make.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this week isn't a great example. He should make that kick. But, like, Thanksgiving against the Bills is a perfect example where, like, they're not even thinking about what hash he should be on or, like, how accurate he is from certain. They're just like, well, like, he's the kicker. He goes out and kicks. And they have no reason to feel that confidence, but they do it anyway. It's maddening.
And after the game, I mean, I know we're going to talk about it, but I guess we can talk about it now. I mean, after the game, Jerry was very non-committal about that situation. Yeah. He basically said, now he did talk today. I didn't hear it. Did you hear it?
I think
The fan.
Oh, he wasn't in a great mood first.
Kicker
at first.
No, I mean he didn't say any. He didn't say anything about Brett Maher.
Right.
Jason Garrett's got a conference call today at 4. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if we hear something about it today. I don't know that.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it can't get worse, can it?
Yeah, he said
that's my thing. I don't think it can get worse.
There? Yeah, but
it doesn't matter.
You can find a guy that can miss and kick out of bounds.
That's my point, right? I don't. And I said this to you in the press box last night. What is Maher doing for you right now? He's kicking out of bounds. Regularly, he's not kicking it through the end zone, so he's not doing much on the kickoffs. He's so inconsistent when it comes to kicking field goals. The only thing that right now you could say that's even on the plus side of the ledger for him is, if you get in a situation where you need a 62-yarder, he's got as good a shot at doing that as any kicker in the league. Like, that's the most you can say about him. That's not enough to keep a guy.
I don't think agree. I mean, they brought in kickers last week.
Right. Anybody on the street, in my opinion, that is a NFL caliber kicker should be able to be at least that bad, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it? There's like a weird parallel there with the coach, isn't there?
In what way?
I mean, at this point, with everything that's happened,
who's out there?
Who's out? I mean, well, like you're like, what are you getting from Jason Garrett? And you're like, well, what's the alternative?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, could it be worse? Like, could it be worse than what we've seen in the last 3 weeks?
Go ahead.
I think that this last game, after the Bills game, they came back and told us all what it was going to be. You know, we're gonna actually grab the wheel and we're gonna take control of the destiny, and it's gonna happen and all that. Dak said it. He was really clear about it, and he comes out and plays his worst game. Dak does, in my opinion. And then Jason Garrett, same thing. I mean, they go out and. I thought they did okay in some coaching situations. They had some head-scratching moments, throughout the game, like they always do. But the message just isn't being heard anymore. So, to your point, who else? I don't know, but something has to light a fire under this team, and that's a bad joke considering what's happened with this team and the Hot Boys and stuff like that. That they're doing okay on their own doing that, but they no one else is igniting this team to anything. And that does fall on the head coach.
Do you think there's another coach here whose message could be received? Because as much as this falls on Garrett, it's a lot of other coaches who play a part in this.
I think it would. That's a good question. I think it would be Jerry's message. Jerry's message of it, just like he did 9 years ago, and he fired Wade, and he said, "I fired a good coach today because of you guys. Can't fire all of you, so I had to fire this good head coach because you guys aren't playing well." I don't think he would say that anymore. I don't think it's the same type of situation, but it's like I can't do everything, so I have to let him go because it's not working.
But I don't know if that lights a fire under this team, because here's the issue. The issue you got right now is there's a bunch of guys that'll be in that room that already got paid. So what are you going to do? You're going to cut them? You can't really cut them. They're too early in their contracts, right? You can't really cut them. So what's the real harm to them? Especially if they're like, well, he's gone. Okay, whatever. Like if they, I don't know that firing Garrett, I don't know if that lights a fire under anybody in that locker room or the right people in that locker room, because by and large, there's a lot of people in that group who are supposed to be playing better than they are. Their money, the amount of money they're making says they should be playing better than they are. I don't know if that's going to change because they're still going to get paid, right?
How many guys on this team are playing up to their price tag right now?
I'll tell you this.
I'll gladly say Lyle Collins.
Yeah, we said that earlier this morning. Like as we started going through the list,
Dak.
Lyle's a guy that.
Yeah, you're right.
Good point. But Lyle, I think, is especially when you talk about the offensive line, which that's probably the position where you have most of your money, and it's supposed to be the strength of your team. And right now, across that line, outside of Lyle, I don't know that anybody is playing up to their expectations. And that includes Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, like all of them. They're not playing up to the level that you would expect them to be playing.
And we get it. Injuries are part of that. A lot of guys are going through stuff. It's just, but the black and white truth of the matter is it is what it is. There aren't very many heavy hitting, expensive players playing up to that billing on this team.
Yep. And the glaring ones are the ones that just got paid. Like those are the ones I think that a lot of people are looking at. Like the expectation was that you were getting paid because you were supposed to be the up and coming leaders of this team, and you're not even playing at the level of the money you're getting now.
If you've listened to this show all season, I'll go to bat for Demarcus Lawrence any day and say he's played a lot better than people want to give him credit for. Didn't play well last night. It's a bad look when you're crashing down and giving up a 23-yard rushing touchdown to a quarterback that had 80 yards entering the game.
Yep.
80 yards on the season entering that game. He had 64 last night. Like, the Bears basically flipped on the Detroit and Bills games and were like, oh, they can't defend running quarterbacks. All right, we're going to do that, and there's nothing they can do about it.
What Matt Nagy said in his press conference. He said we saw some things on tape that we thought we could do. That's
a novel concept, figuring out what the other team doesn't do well.
Well, that's the indictment on this coaching staff, though, right?
It's not really.
That's my point.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing. You can do that, I think, with the Cowboys because they do what they do.
No, exactly. That's
just who we are.
It's a novel concept to game plan for what your opponent doesn't do well instead of just focusing on what you do well.
And the fact that the Cowboys were, and maybe this is the right word, I don't know if it is, were arrogant enough to just think, well, it'll fix itself. There were two games where lesser quarterbacks were able to get all those ground yards against you, right? And you didn't think, hey, this could be a problem coming up. Last week when you did the scouting report in Chicago, one thing you said
they were great.
I said they were great. But one of the things you said about Mitch Trubisky is, he's a guy that can run on you, right? And if the fact that you could see it, but they weren't thoughtful enough to say he is a guy that can run on you, and we've been run on by 2 other lesser quality quarterbacks.
It is
that they wouldn't be prepared for that, to me, was the indictment.
It's very rare that dumb me, non-scouting me, can watch an hour's worth of NFL Game Pass and call my shot and be so blindingly right. Like, it was so obvious. Mitch Trubisky's an athletic quarterback. Like, it was painfully obvious.
And if he can't do that, it changes the whole projection of what he's going to do in that game.
And that actually goes back to the point I wanted to make. Look, Dak didn't play well. I don't think Nick's wrong. He might have played his worst game of the season. It's certainly one of the worst 2 or 3 games that he played this year. But I come out of that game stupefied by the defense, really, more than the offense. Because I just looked this up while we were talking. The offense had 4 possessions in the first half. They go 17 yards and score. They go 3 and out from their own goal line, which, like, I'm not going to kill you for that. You're limited in what you can do. Another 3 and out, that's not great. They have another scoring drive that gives them the potential to tie the game with a field goal. Brett Maher misses. And what is happening while all of this is going on? The Bears are driving the field 5 out of 5 times. If Trubisky doesn't throw a bad pick on the first possession, they probably score on 5 straight possessions. Mm-hmm. They scored on their next 4 after the pick. And that includes after halftime when they, again, Cowboys took the ball to start the game. I have no idea why, but the Bears took advantage of it because the defense just didn't elect to stop anything until it was, 24-7? That's when the defense started forcing
24 unanswered points.
When it was 24-7, the defense started forcing punts. And then when the offense rediscovered their mojo and scored, that's when the Bears were like, oh no, we're not done scoring. Now that y'all are back in the game, we're going to go take care of business. Yeah. I thought the defense was atrocious.
Okay, so we're going to take a break. Real quick, I'm going to leave you guys with this stat before we go to break. This is interesting. I saw this last night. Mr. Trubisky last night was the first quarterback in NFL history to complete 70% plus of passes on 30 plus attempts, throw 3 touchdowns, rush for 50 plus yards, rush for a touchdown in a single game. He made NFL history last night.
Not the first time a player has made NFL history against the team this year.
So I'm going to take a break, and when I come back, I'm going to ask you guys what went wrong with this defense. I want you to give me some answers because it doesn't seem like many people have answers. I want to hear a few thoughts from you guys on what you think went wrong defensively, really over this season, what's gone wrong with this defense. We'll do it when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
I'm Jay Novacek, former tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Back in the day, I was the guy who always got the tough yards, and that's why I run with John Deere today. In fact, I have a John Deere 3025E tractor that can handle any yard work I need to do, even the tough yards way out back. So if you have 1 acre or 1,000, John Deere has the equipment that's just right for you. Visit a John Deere dealer today and run with us. We are the official tractor provider of your Dallas Cowboys.
Whether you're into being a part of this or more into something like this, SeatGeek has the tickets to the events you love. It's the easiest way to find, buy, and sell tickets. Plus, with their deal score technology, they'll recommend the best seats in the house at the best value. So the next time you're craving this, download the SeatGeek app and let's go. SeatGeek.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Ready? Okay. Give me an S. S. Give me an O. O. Give me an S. S. Give me an O. O. What's that spell?
So.
Are we gonna win?
Not if we play like we cheered.
Just okay is not okay. Whether it's cheerleaders or your wireless network, AT&T is America's best wireless network. Best network based on GWS One score September 2019.
Back to the break.
Welcome back. It's the second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios.
Kyle, your mic.
We are talking about Cowboys. We are talking about Cowboys versus Bears. Cowboys lose 31-24, fall to 6-7 on the season. They're down under 500 with 3 games to go. and still leading the NFC East. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Is it like, do you think they'd be playing better if they had to like chase to catch up to somebody? Like if the Eagles were having a good season and the Cowboys had to keep pace, do you think they'd be playing better?
That's a hard question.
Maybe like you need that, which I mean you shouldn't because you're professionals, but they need that motivating factor. Like, oh, if we don't start winning games, we're done. Whereas, like, damn, we lost again, and their percentage of making the playoffs only dropped from 73 to 67 last night.
Yeah.
What a blessing to be in this division.
If that's what you want to call it, yeah. It's something, all right.
Yeah. Before the break, we were talking about the defense, and I posed the question, what do you think is the problem with the defense? And I think it goes beyond just this game. I think it might be all season, but it's definitely been a growing theme as the season has gone on. And personally, I think it's one that's gotten worse as the season's gone on. The defense seems to get worse, not better. What are your thoughts as to some of the issues and why they're happening to this defense?
Well, there's everything. They don't get enough pass rush to really make a difference there. And I think that everybody's just kind of okay. The secondary's just an okay secondary. Nothing great there. They're just not special at anything. The linebackers don't fly around the ball like you would expect. Missing Leighton Vander Esch is a big deal, but when you have Sean Lee and Joe Thomas, you think you would be able to overcome it. Other teams overcome their injuries all the time. So,
and by the way, he wasn't playing great before the injury, I don't think.
He wasn't playing to his expectations. I mean, he was playing, he was
like the rest of them.
Yeah.
Right?
Tackling has been terrible, too.
Mm-hmm. All across the board. That's
to watch them break like 3 or 4 tackles multiple times last night was insane.
And that's I was harping on the defense before the break. If this is Aaron Rodgers, I'm like, I say it all the time, like, oh, the rules are skewed toward offense. These things are going to happen. This is one of the worst offenses in the NFL. They were 29th going into the game. Mitch Trubisky got benched a month ago. I know they came back and said he got hurt. I don't buy it. He got benched in the waning minutes of a loss to the Rams. This is a guy who has struggled to throw for 200 yards. This is an offense that failed to score more than 20 points in 8 of their 12 games heading into last night. They scored 31. It's only the second time they've hit 30 all year. Speaks for itself. They picked on these guys. Jalen Smith got picked on last night. They singled him out in the red zone
3 times in a row.
Yeah,
until it worked,
and it did, and it did work.
Yeah,
it's baffling. And I thought it was illuminating. We all know Jason Garrett is great at not giving specific answers to questions. He went up last night and said, specifically on defense, guys are trying to do too much. They're pressing. They're trying to make the big play. I thought Sean Sharif on The Fan this morning had a great analogy. Like, you try to hit the 6-run home run in baseball when you're trailing by a bunch instead of just focusing on getting a hit. It certainly looks that way. And like I said, I thought it was illuminating that if Jason Garrett gives you a specific like that, then I think it's an even bigger issue than it actually, it's even bigger. If it's so big that Jason Garrett is willing to acknowledge it, it's pretty damn big, is what I'm trying to say.
So do you think that that's happening because guys are trying to get their own personal highlights or because they're just trying so hard to help the team win? The reason why, here's the only reason why I asked that question.
Yeah.
Well, here's the only reason why I asked that question, because there's a lot of people that are giving Jalen Smith a lot of flack last night for swiping when they're getting their butts whooped and he makes a play. And it makes me wonder, are there guys that are thinking more about their personal brands and thinking more about, hey, I got to get my highlight, and that's why you tend to go away from doing your job for the purpose of maybe making the big splash play. And that's a whole different thing than, hey, I see my teammate over here who's struggling. I'm going to try to give him a little extra help, and that takes me out of position from what I'm supposed to be doing, right? So I'm trying to figure out, where do you think this lies?
It can be both of those things, right? And which it's always dicey when you're talking about somebody's motives. Sure. Like, I don't know, I can't pinpoint to a certainty what drives these guys, but I do know it's a terrible look when you showboat down 3 scores in a football game. It could be.
It's a terrible look when you're dancing in front of, like after you've made a play on 2nd down and a guy is down there on the ground hurt. Now, whether or not you saw that or not, because I think he tweeted out that he
said
didn't see it. But that's still a problem because you're doing some kind of like high five that like teenage girls do, like at camp and stuff like that, like with some other
Did you do
player.
that at camp,
I don't
Tanny?
think I had any major high fives when I was a teenage girl at camp.
You didn't have like a secret handshake?
Well, you should. Because what was happening? Because you were probably paying attention to see if some other camp director was hurt or something like that. Because that's what was going on. So yeah, you didn't see it because you were doing that. And either way, it's second down because they went at you on first, they went at you on second, and they might do it again. And they got him the third time, which I still would like to see more of a review on that play. But because we review everything, but. And I'll say this. If there's a weird call that you haven't heard of before, watch a Cowboy game because you're going to get it. Not only are you going to get a fourth timeout, you're going to get it twice in the game. A fourth timeout.
Which I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth. Yeah. Football should be fun. You should have fun while you're playing it.
This year hasn't been fun for me.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, I know. But you get my
All
point.
the way around,
like,
just football.
I want touchdown dances. I want Robert Quinn to dance like a snake when he gets a sack.
Yeah.
But maybe not if you're getting pummeled, which they were.
Know the right time.
Yeah. There's a time and place. And like I said, I don't know to a certainty what drives these guys, but they're pressing, they're out of position. That's coming from their head coach. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't lead you to a good conclusion when you see that type of stuff in a game that is lopsided.
It shows that you do not care. That's what it looks like, is that you really don't care. I remember in another 54, they're in Hambrick. They were getting beat by the Eagles 40-7 or so in the rain, and he made a tackle on 3rd and 5. It went right in front of the Eagles bench and did the gravedigger dance right in front of them, and it was 40-7. And you're like, okay. It just shows that I don't really care about the score. Right. I'm gonna get mine.
There's to a degree where you
Julius
do that.
Campbell.
To hype each other up, and I get that. Hey, we can still do this. We're still in this. Let's stay confident we can do this. But you have to understand the limit.
Yeah.
By that.
And that's I do think the chemistry among the defensive players is good. I think those guys love each other. They get along. It hasn't translated, and I know people are tired of hearing about the Hot Boys, and I totally understand that. So. I have a hard time buying that they're out there I don't give a damn about these other 10 guys. I don't necessarily think that's true, but they're clearly trying to do too much in a lot of different ways.
Well, the point is there are a lot of brands on this team.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
There's a lot of brands, and that's why I asked the question is when you have a lot of brands, I think sometimes that can lend itself to guys making business decisions. And part of those business decisions are, look at me. I need those moments where you have to look at me and say, I'm a great player, right? And that may not always lend itself to doing what's best for the team. Your assignment may be one that does the dirty work so somebody else can shine. And if you're not always focused on just doing your assignment and not being the guy to make the play, then what we're seeing right now is what happens, right?
Right.
All right, let's take our final break. When we come back, I want to talk about this quote from Jerry. It just I saw a lot of people reacting to it. It basically said last night, every healthy coach will continue to coach, and that probably means that there aren't going to be changes to this coaching staff. I'll ask you guys if that's the right decision when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Ready? Okay. Give me an S. S. Give me an O. O. Give me an S. S. Give me an O. O. What's that spell?
So.
Are we gonna win?
Not if we play like we cheer.
Just okay is not okay. Whether it's cheerleaders or your wireless network, AT&T is America's best wireless network. Best network based on GWS One score September 2019.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again for Tailgating with the OtterBox Boys.
OtterBox, the company that builds wildly overprotective phone cases?
The one and only. But cases are just the start. OtterBox is the official outfitter of tailgating.
If they can keep my phone safe, what can they do for my parking lot party?
How about protecting your beverages from suboptimal drinking temperatures with their elevation tumblers? And OtterBox elevation tumblers come in 3 sizes, a 10-ouncer, a 20-ouncer, and even a 64-ounce growler.
Check out all the colors and sizes of their elevation tumblers at otterbox.com.
Whether you're into being a part of this or more into something like this, SeatGeek has the tickets to the events you love. It's the easiest way to find, buy, and sell tickets. Plus, with their Deal Score technology, they'll recommend the best seats in the house at the best value. So the next time you're craving this, download the SeatGeek app and let's go. SeatGeek.
Hey Cowboys Nation, this season when the Cowboys win, you get to experience the sweet taste of victory because if the Cowboys win, the next day Dunkin' is offering a free medium hot or iced coffee. So don't just celebrate the Cowboys' success from the sidelines, head to Dunkin' and treat yourself to real victory because this season Cowboys fans aren't only winning on game day, they're winning the next day too with a free medium coffee. Cowboys Nation runs on Dunkin'. Excludes cold brew. Limit 1 per guest. Participation may vary. Limited time offer.
Back to the break.
It is the final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, and we're talking about this depressing loss. Cowboys lose to the Chicago Bears 31-24. Nick, give us some kind of something. I don't know. Something to make us happy.
Game. You want to go to a championship game?
Championship quality football.
Go to the Big 12 championship because that's probably the closest thing we're going to have this year at the AT&T Stadium, other than the high school games that UIL Texas State playoffs will be there as well. But December 7th, which is tomorrow. Oklahoma and
11 o'clock,
Baylor
right?
will play at 11 a.m. So you can go to SeatGeek.com to get some tickets there.
I will say this. I'm very, very excited about the fact that there are no Cowboys games this weekend. So tomorrow I plan to sit down on my couch around 10 o'clock. And I really don't plan to move again until like about 10 o'clock tomorrow night.
The best.
Just watching all the conference championships. It'll be a great day of football.
Those are the best days.
It is. Who you guys playing?
LSU. I am going to be in New Orleans watching LSU play for an SEC title with most of my closest friends.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Sounds fun.
Hopefully they win.
Me and Nick will just be
I
living
won't be
vicariously
watching
through
football.
other people.
My college football.
What's your
Missouri.
college? Oh. Y'all, well, all three of us, like, this has been a really bad college year. Really bad college year.
The worst. I was thinking about that this morning. This is my worst football season I've ever had.
Between college and pro?
Life. Yeah.
That can't be true.
It is.
15?
Huh. No.
He's saying across the board.
But, I mean, I'm not trying to, like, you wrote a book about the 15 season and it didn't go great.
Yeah, it didn't go great, but, like, coach was fired on one team, Arkansas.
Yeah, that's
Coach
true.
might be getting fired on this team. I mean, everyone wants it.
The wheels fall off both for you.
That's a good point.
Had an 18-year, streak of winning seasons on my other team that was snapped.
Yeah, it just hasn't been a good year. It
It's
hasn't
okay.
been a good year.
2020 is almost here, Nick.
It is.
I was going to say I invite anybody to vicariously root for LSU through me, but I think the opposite's going to happen.
They hate it.
There's a lot of people that are going to be rooting against LSU because of me.
Earlier this year, after y'all beat us, I started coming around on the idea I really want to see these fans be able to get that championship, get over Bama, all that.
No, you don't.
And the more the season has worn on, and I've heard you on Twitter, the more I'm like, I was telling my wife this other day, I was like, I hope they don't win this national title.
Just because they would tweet that much more.
Yes, I hope Ohio State just completely runs them off the field.
You know what?
Just so I don't have to hear about it for another year.
Go big or go home. Like, I'm not.
I hear you.
This isn't a game for the meek. Go like bring it on. Like, I'm either. And if they lose, pile it on. I can take it.
This is why I love football.
Yeah.
And the book that I wrote that you're alluding to is the same thing. It wasn't a great season, but but the thing about it is that's why we're in this, because next year we're going to be back doing it
starts
again.
all over, right?
And that's what is so beautiful about sports, and especially football, is that, you know what? These people that said, I'm done, I am done. You're done because it's Monday, and you're done because it's Tuesday, and you don't have to do anything. Maybe you're not going to read our stories or the break or the Talking Cowboys, but on Sunday you're going to wear your old Troy Aikman jersey again, and you're going to put on the same slippers you always wear, and you're going to sit in the same spot on your couch, and you're going to watch the game because that's what your dad did, and that's what you do. Like I've said it 1,000 times, you don't choose to be a Cowboys fan; it chooses you. So you'll be back Sunday against the Rams, pissed off, but you'll be there.
And that's the point. You're going to be pissed, but the point is you can't – if you're a real fan and a fan of football and a fan of your team, you're still going to be watching. It's why I watch Texas football, even though I'm frustrated with them.
I completely agree. We are all that sick type of breed, and the people that listen to this type of show are too. But I will say, and Jerry Jones said this morning on his radio interview. He was like, I get, like, people are pissed off, and I get that, and I understand it. And I don't remember the direct quote, but he was like, it's apathy that concerns me as the owner and general manager. I think that could be a problem if somehow this gets run back. Like,
what do you mean run back?
I mean, like, people are out on Jason Garrett.
Right.
Like, the vast majority of Cowboys fans.
Yeah, he can't.
But I think the great news for them is the way this thing has gone. It really, in my opinion, and again, I don't know. Jerry still gets the final say, obviously. But I have a hard time believing that this thing turns out any way other than one of two. Either he goes all the way, and Jerry's like, well, see, I told you we just had to give it time, or it doesn't, and he's gone and they start over.
And I think that's the disconnect. I think we would all agree we're on the same page with that. And we're on the inside. This is our job, so we approach it a little more even-keeled than a fan would. And we're like, look, whether it's today or in 3 weeks or after their playoff game, the Jason Garrett era seems like it's over. And it is what it is. And I think a lot of fans are like, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, they see that graphic of Undertaker, right?
And they're just like, tell me I'm not going to be sitting down and it's going to be Cowboys-Giants at 3:30 on September 10th next year and Jason Garrett's going to be the head coach. And I think a lot of them believe that. And that's, I mean, you bring back apathy.
He's going to be the head coach, just not.
Well, oh my God, if that were to happen, God, we're getting so. It would be Sunday Night Football, right? It would have to be.
Jason Garrett comes back to AT&T as the coach of the Giants. Yeah,
absolutely. But I think we're sitting there like, look, just let this thing play out. It'll be fine. And Cowboys fans are like, I don't think I believe you.
Seen it before. Yeah, seen it before.
And that's where I wonder, like, how many times can you do this before even the most dyed-in-the-wool Cowboys fan is like, enough?
Okay, but when are you guys or other people gonna kind of come with me on this and say it doesn't matter who your coach is? These players are not as good as we think they are. The talent is not as great as, and that's what the media does, and we're a part of it too. But how many times do you see? Cowboys are going to do this. The Cowboys are great. This team is the number one team in college football. All of a sudden, they barely make a bowl. And then they're like, well, the coach sucks. The players suck. You know what, media? Maybe you suck. Maybe we suck thinking that the Cowboys were going to be better.
Here's the question, though, because I think it's two different things. Is it that they aren't talented or aren't as talented as we thought? Or is it that they're not playing up to potential? Because I think those are two different things. And I think in this instance, I go more to the point of I think they're not playing up to their potential because there are guys that I know are really good players on this team that have not played like really good players all season. We talked about the offensive line.
Give me one guy.
Tyron.
Okay.
Zach.
Travis.
Like, go down the line. Like, there are a number. Demarcus Lawrence. I think Demarcus Lawrence is a phenomenal player. I don't think he's played like that this year. I mean, I don't think he's been as bad as some people think. But I don't think he's played up to where he played last year.
This is absolutely the 2008 season all over again because that team was coming off a really good team from the year before. Everything was ready for them. They went 3-0 to start the season, and then the bottom dropped out, and they've had some terrible, embarrassing losses there. And in the season and in the offseason before that, they signed about 3 guys that they signed to big long-term deals basically off of what they have done and not what they were going to do. One of them was Terrence Newman. One of them was Marion Barber, who was pretty much done. Maybe Colombo or
did they sign? When did they re-sign? No, that wouldn't have been him.
There was another guy that they put a lot of money into, and it hasn't really worked out. And
that wasn't Hamlin, was it? When was Hamlin?
Wouldn't you say? I mean, which I wasn't here. I was in college, which means Danny, you were probably in high school.
2008.
Yeah.
Middle school.
Oh God, jeez, Lord. But I'm just okay. They went 13-3 the year before that. Whole bunch of crap happened. They missed the playoffs, and the next year they went 11-5.
Yeah.
So I'm led to believe that must have been a pretty talented group of players to put together 2 playoff runs and barely miss the playoffs in the middle of that.
Oh, they kept the same coach, so.
How could they have been so talented last year when this is majority of the same team and then this year just fall? That's why I think it's more potential.
I think that's the point. Like, that's the NFL. If you look at the NFL, it happens like that. Think about the Atlanta Falcons. 2 years ago, they were 28-3 at halftime of a Super Bowl in the lead, and now they are one of the worst teams in the NFL. And a lot of the same players that were the best of what they had back then are still on that team and still playing for them. As a matter of fact, they've added talent. I mean, that's the NFL. That's how the NFL works.
What are you saying? You think that these 50 to 60-year-old coaches that have been doing it their whole life just now aren't as good?
I think it's both. I think sometimes players just don't play as well as they should.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes they aren't put in the right position because coaches. Because here's the thing: if you're really that good, that means that next offseason, everybody that you're going to face the next season is spending a little extra time getting ready for you to make sure they have answers to play, especially in your division.
I think this team's getting their ass kicked on Wednesday and Thursday. That's what we've said it several times over the years, and I think we're starting to see it more and more now that they're not as prepared to go and win games, and that is on coaching. There's no doubt that that's on coaching. Yeah, it's on players too.
I mean, that was what we said was Jason Garrett's strength.
Yeah,
and I mean, it doesn't seem like it this year.
Right, and getting your ass kicked is something it hasn't really happened a lot with him, but it did last night. Like score aside, whatever, they got beat, and they got beat by a pretty average to bad team.
And that's now the 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Because the same thing happened to them on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
They got their butts.
I mean, the Bills are probably going to be in the playoffs. The Bears are not.
I get it. My point, though, is like you're not used to seeing Jason Garrett teams get dominated like that.
Yeah.
You're used to seeing them, even if they lose, you're used to seeing them put forth the effort to be in the game at any point in the fourth quarter. Like they're in the game.
That's what me and Taylor Stern had a little back and forth on Twitter last night where I was like, this is one of the worst 3-game stretches of football of the Jason Garrett era. And Taylor was like, well, what about 2015? And I was like, 2015 didn't have a quarterback, and they went down to the wire week after week. They were fighting their asses off. They were losing in overtime.
Matt Castle.
They were getting beat on the last play of the game by the Bucs. Like they weren't good, but they were not getting blown out ever. Like nobody just kicked their ass.
Yep.
And this team has gotten its ass kicked a few times this season.
Are you going to pick the Cowboys to win another game?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't I'm going to pull a Nick Eatman. Like, they're going to lose to the Rams on Sunday. Then they're going to turn around and win 2 straight NFC East games and make the playoffs.
That's who
just
they
what's
are
gonna
right
happen.
now. What we know of them is they beat teams that are worse than them by and large.
They beat NFC
and they
East
beat
teams.
NFC East teams. Like that's who they beat up on.
They're going to finish this season.
living.
They're going to finish this season 6-0 against the NFC East.
8-8.
And then 2-8 against everybody else. And their 2 wins would be against Miami and Detroit, who are not good.
And both of them beat the Eagles.
True. Wow. Yeah, they did. Which, I mean, I kind of, The Ringer, the sport, the national website, they did an article last week where they ranked the worst divisions of the realignment era. And they were like, oh, the 19 NFC East isn't it's not the worst, but it's up there. And I kind of took issue with that. This was before the Dolphins game, the Eagles-Dolphins game. And since then, and since the Bears game, I was thinking about it. I was like, no, yeah, this could be one of the worst 2 or 3 divisions in the history of since realignment, for sure.
Is it possible? I think it is. It's possible for the winner of this division to be 7-9, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that just speaks volumes. With 3 games left, the possibility, and I wouldn't think it's a far-fetched possibility that the winner of this division is 7-9. Definitely a great possibility they could be 8-8.
Which, to go back to my point, I think I think is what has Cowboys fans mad today. Is they're like, I'll be damned if this team isn't going to go 8-8 and maybe even mess around and win a home playoff game. And then what do you do with this coach that they don't like? No. And I think that is probably keeping a lot of fans awake at night.
See, but I think that's going to be even more validation that something else has to happen, because that means that, and Jerry talked about this morning on his call, he was like, if you've seen something happen before, then there's a possibility it can happen again. I think Jerry believes wholeheartedly this team's talented, which leaves you with, okay, if you're just not getting the most out of your talent, at some point you got to do something to get the most out of your talent.
Right? I know we're running out of time, but I wanted to say that too, is I agree with Nick to a degree, thinking back to training camp, Xavier Woods didn't make the jump that I think we thought he would. Cheeto Awuzie is another one. Fantastic camp, didn't translate. Media definitely takes some accountability in that. I still, even after all of this, contend that the core of this team is very talented. I think the quarterback is good. I think the running back is great. I think Amari Cooper's phenomenal. He struggled in the early going. For some reason, he can't play great on the road. I don't know why. I still think he's a fantastic receiver. I think there's talent on the defense. it just hasn't translated this year, and I don't know why.
All right, we appreciate you joining us. We're back on Monday. We'll tell you about what happens this weekend. We'll tell you where the Cowboys sit, and we'll start getting ready for Cowboys versus Rams. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman, Danny Surek, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?